All right, my friends. I just pressed the Let's Go Live button, so let's wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet. Before we go ahead and get started, it's a lovely Friday. We got to make sure that the tubes are working. And let's see what's happening here on locals. Locals, this might be a little bit hot today on the mic. Here, let me drop that down a smidge. For whatever reason, it didn't use RTMP, but that's okay. We are connecting the tubes still on the Friday, and it looks like we are alive and well, which is tremendous news. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we're talking about Jack Smith losing his butt at the Supreme Court of the United States. SCOTUS denies Jack Smith's petition, and we're very excited about that. We're going to unpack everything that happened. It's not that much because it's really just a one-sentence order. You can see what it looks like right there, but there is some meat and potatoes that come behind the order that led to the order that we're going to be able to take a look at, including some reaction from people like Marc, Elias. Our friend Techno Fog is weighing in. We've got Jullie Kelly with an update. But Jack Smith actually issued a response to this before the order came out yesterday. And so we're going to read through that because he's also responding to these claims of illegality that we heard from Edwin Meese, which was Ronald Reagan's actual attorney general. And so Jack Smith submitted a filing that there is some interesting stuff in there because now that SCOTUS has rejected the petition for certiorari from Jack Smith, we have got a lot of time left on the clock, meaning this thing is going to go several months down the line, and that March 4th trial date that Judge Chutkan really wanted to anchor in there is not going to stick around. So we're going to see what Jack Smith put in there. We also had maybe the Supreme Court listen to the 19 attorneys general from 19 different states who also submitted an amicus brief in front of the Supreme Court. And so we're going to see what they said about it. And then we'll hear from Newt Gingrich, who had an interesting clip where he just said, this is not about the law. Stop playing like this is a court of law. This is not law. This is not justice. This is not what we are used to. This is something else, and it's politics. And so we'll go through that all in the first segment. But good news today, man. Jack Smith is getting a lump of coal for Christmas, and he deserves it. And so we're going to go through all of that. Now, Jim Jordan, to add some icing on top, also threatened Jack Smith with a subpoena. And so this letter came out from the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. We'll take a look at it. But Jim Jordan threatening Jack Smith with a subpoena, saying, look, we've asked for a lot of information from your deranged thug prosecutors, and by the way, from your office, which is illegal. And we want answers, and if you don't give us those answers, then we're going to be investigating this further, and we may even be sending you a subpoena because we can do that since, we're Congress. We're going to hear then what's happening at the White House because Jack Smith has failed to keep this trial on the track to interfere with our elections. Now they're trying to just take him off the ballot. And so the White House is very concerned about this, saying that, there's dangerous rhetoric now against those honorable judges from Colorado, which is, come on, give me a break. So we'll go through that. Then we'll see what is happening with other California secretaries of state like these people, one in California, one in Michigan, who are all going to be explaining what their position is. We've got Andrew Weismann and Rachel Maddow as well, who are going to be opining on this. And we've got Higgins, who's on the House of Representatives, who is also issuing a statement. He's actually introducing a new law. And then we've got Ron DeSantis and Kennedy, who are also weighing in with some reaction to a lot of the Colorado stuff. And so we'll go through all of that and see what is inside. And then lastly, we'll turn our attention over to what's happening with Biden, because there's this new story that Biden, Joe, was emailing Hunter or Hunter's business associates for 54 times over the course of his time at the vice presidency. And so we'll take a look at that story. That was actually reported by NBC News. I wonder if they'll call that evidence yet. But we also know Lesley Wolf didn't answer when she sat down for a deposition. She was sitting there and having a conversation or not having a conversation with Congress. And so she didn't answer much there. This was the woman who we allege was covering for Hunter and Joe, the crime family there. This guy says the whistleblowers are being vindicated, and we've got some reaction from Comer, Tim Burchett, and Representative Chip Roy, who are all going to be explaining what is happening with the Biden crime family out there in the Congress. And so we are taking a look at what else is happening here. Let me just make a quick setting adjustment. Turn that slow mode down just a smidge. And adjust that. Boom. And then, as you can see, my friends, we've got a lot to get to today. We're excited that you are here. It's a beautiful, beautiful Friday. And we have the holidays right around the corner. And so hopefully you're getting ready to go for those. This morning, we had a great members-only stream. And we'll be doing a members-only stream tomorrow as well, of course, on Saturday. This morning, we spent a lot of time talking about the border, which is a total disaster. Every day, it looks like it's getting worse. Even MSNBC now is talking about how bad things are over there. So we talked about that. And then we talked about Harvard. I mean, they just keep discovering more plagiarism from Claudine Gay. And so we talked about all that as well. Even the education department is sending, education committee in Congress is sending letters to Harvard talking about, education. Biden, Speaker Johnson is also sending a letter over to Biden saying, we already passed immigration in the House. We need the Senate to do it. If you want immigration reform, why didn't the Senate act on the House bill that has already been passed? So we talked about that this morning. We love our members-only streams. If you want to join us for those, watchingthewatchers.locals.com is the web address to head to. We do streams in the morning. We do streams on Saturday. And we got some other fun stuff we're working on. So come check it out, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We also have our website. So if you want to read any of the PDFs that we go through here, they're all posted on the website after the show. robertgovea.com is where you can go. Click this reports tab, and you can see everything that we talk about is right here, including the PDF. So you never miss a thing by going to robertgovea.com. You can also sign up for the newsletter. Click here for instant access. Boom. That way, you get all the show reports delivered to your inbox. And if you're looking for an awesome way to support the show, we have our new shop, which is online and shipping away right now. We've got our Watcher hat with the Watcher logo. We've got the flip-flopping sandals, which are all available. We've got the ungovernable tees. We've got the deprivation of rights tees. We've even got the gift cards. And so it's a great way to support the show. Get something fun, get something that you can sport, and keep the show on air, my friends. And so thanks for supporting us this way. I appreciate you going over there and grabbing something. And if you need a last-minute Christmas gift, grab some Watcher cash. Maybe you don't want to get something for somebody, but maybe they'll want to grab something for themselves. And so check that out. All right. Now, we are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our after party, and we'll see you there, but not before we attend to business. Starting now. The Supreme Court denies Jack Smith his petition for certiorari. He's having a bad day, got a lump of coal for Christmas because he wanted to really fast-track the Trump trial. Wanted March 4th to happen the day before Super Tuesday. They were going to be in there in trial, but not anymore. This is a big loss for them, and they were panicked. This is Jack Smith submitting motions all over the place, asking Chutkan to accelerate, asking the Court of Appeals to accelerate, asking then the Supreme Court to leapfrog the Court of Appeals because it was taking too slow. He was like, let's go now. But the Supreme Court said, what's the rush, man? We're not as partisan and political as you are. We don't think that the election is an urgency. And so Jack Smith is going to have to go through the regular course, the regular process. And it is good news because, man, they had all their eggs in this basket. Now they're going to have to figure out what else to do. They're going to have to look to Florida with Judge Cannon. Are they going to accelerate that case now? Or are they going to go back to Big Fanny's case with Rico and focus on that one? Or maybe they'll wake up Alvin Bragg and say, hey, it's time for you to get back on the horse and start prosecuting Trump again. And so who knows what's going to, maybe they'll indict him again. Maybe we'll see a superseding indictment or something. But the point is, delays here are exactly what they do not want. This was a political attack job, and they needed the attack to happen on time. Now that it's not happening on time, what are they going to do? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But the order, the delicious order from the Supreme Court, often comes in the simplest form, one sentence. This is what it looks like. Boom. Friday, December 22nd. Merry Christmas, Jack. United States versus Trump. The petition for a writ of certiorari before judgment is denied. And you can see that is a very fun one. It comes on the back of the docket. You can see there was a ton of activity. And we spent some time here yesterday. And if you missed that segment, I would really encourage you to watch this one. The one where Edwin Meese said that Jack Smith is illegitimate. This is the Supreme Court docket. You can see Jack Smith was here. He filed a petition. He filed a motion to expedite. He's like, let's go fast. We have to convict Trump. He filed another motion to expedite. Trump filed some responses. Edwin Meese and those amazing law professors filed that one. And then we had the brief of the states, which we'll take a look at. And then Jack Smith responded, begging SCOTUS, please accept the case. But Supreme Court came back 3 days before Christmas and said, your petition is denied. Now, there's some good stuff in some of these filings that led to this, but Jack Smith is not having a good day, not having a good week. You can see this guy, even Marc Elias, the Democrat super lawyer, who is very upset with Trump, says, breaking, the Supreme Court denies Jack Smith's request to hear Trump's immunity appeal. The D.C. Circuit hearing is on January 9th, and no SCOTUS consideration until after. And we're going to tease out exactly how much time there is, because Trump has a lot of time. You can say 45 days at the Court of Appeals and 90 after the fact. And Jack Smith even admits that, which we'll read. So Marc Elias says, current trial date is in jeopardy, which is an understatement there, Mark. Yeah, it's in jeopardy, all right. Because remember what happens. Remember, when the case went up on appeal in mid-December, it stopped the clock, okay? The clock was paused, that's it. And so once this case is ultimately decided in the Court of Appeals, you don't just kind of go back onto the same timeline. You have to revert all the way back, right? You get all of that additional time. And so Trump is going to say, as he is right now, I'm not working on the January 6th case at all. I haven't even thought about it. In fact, my file's closed. It's in the closet because I'm working on the appeal. I can't play two games at the same time. And so when he goes back from the Court of Appeals, it's like he never left the DC Circuit. Okay, it's not like he can continue to work there. You rewind the clock, and all that time between mid-December and whenever this is resolved is basically deleted, gone. Doesn't count against Trump. He gets all of that time back. And so he's going to add all of that time onto the calendar. And when is that going to push the trial? Well, probably like in the middle of the election, like November, October. And they're not going to want to schedule the trial then. And so it's going to probably get bumped until after Florida. And then beyond that, maybe into 2025. We'll have to see. So this is Marc Elias, very unhappy about it. Techno Fog, another friend of ours here, says, the Supreme Court has denied Special Counsel Jack Smith's request for an expedited review. He says there's not going to be a trial before the 2024 election. Ooh! And he's a sharp cookie over there, so you know that means something. Now he says, no mistake, this is a big loss for the special counsel. And absolutely, we've been here for months now saying that Jack Smith and Judge Chutkan, they were just, pinky promising each other, we're going to have a March 4th trial date. This is going to be something that is resolved well before the election, because if they postpone it a little bit too much, then it's right into the election season. So March 4th was kind of the end line for them. And now they are having to figure out what to do. So it's a big loss. Judge Chutkan is not happy about it. This case was taken away from her. And Jullie Kelly responded also back to Marc Elias and said, hey, not in jeopardy, Mark. Okay, this is a nail in the coffin for the March 4th trial date. Oral arguments in D.C., the appellate courts are set for January 9th, and it could be weeks until after that. And that order will then go up to SCOTUS. And so very, very good news for the defense, because they want due process. They want equal protection under the law. Judge Chutkan and Jack Smith say they don't even need to read the discovery. They don't even need to look at the evidence. Well, we disagree. Jack Smith is denied. What a glorious day. So that is a big one. Now, this is what Jack Smith said right before this denial, okay? He was basically begging the Supreme Court, don't you do this to me. Now, here's why. They say This is the reply brief for the petitioner saying, in this case, respondent agrees. Actually, we're just going to fast forward through a lot of this. Okay, this is Jack Smith, and this is the timeline that he's going to lay out for us. He says that even if the government, this is before the Supreme Court denied him, even if the government prevails in a timely issued opinion, the default rules give Trump 45 days to seek a rehearing en banc. Okay, so it's going to go to the Court of Appeals. It'll be heard by the panel of 3. Then it will go back to Trump. If he loses, he can re-request for a full rehearing. This is according to Jack Smith. And that rehearing, he's got 45 days to do that. So from January 9th, right? So 1/9 is going to be the scheduled date. Then we're going to have a length of time until we get a ruling. Okay, so we'll get a ruling at some point, however long that is. And then from there, Trump will have, let's say, another 45 days to go to the Court of Appeals again for a full hearing, for a full rehearing en banc. However long that length of time takes, we don't know. Okay, then they've got to issue a ruling. So you've got another time here and another time here. And then suddenly, what happens if it comes back, let's say, adverse to Trump at the Court of Appeals? Well, this whole thing now is going to start back up at SCOTUS. Okay, so now we go appeals to SCOTUS. And how much time does he have for SCOTUS? Well, even Jack Smith admits it right here. 90 days then to seek certiorari. So then he can wait another 3 months, 90 days there. Okay, so now we're just doing the math. March plus, let's say, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. That's election season. So is the judge going to reschedule this like in October or November? I doubt it, right? So even Jack Smith is acknowledging, he says, look, regardless of whether respondent uses or even allowed that much time in this case, the available time would necessarily be reduced by the length of the proceedings in the DC Circuit. So he's basically begging them, please hear this. The same approach is warranted. Certiorari before judgment allows the court to set its schedule now and resolve this issue quickly. And so they really needed it. Now they're out of time. Now, I also wanted to share this part of this conversation with you because yesterday we talked about Jack Smith being illegally constituted, right? He's not an appointed U.S. attorney who was confirmed by the United States Senate as is required under the Appointments Clause. Instead, Merrick Garland just picked him up out of somewhere and brought him in here and said, you're special counsel. Well, Edwin Meese, Reagan's former attorney general, is the person who submitted this motion saying Jack Smith, the so-called, quote, special counsel, is not a special counsel at all. Now, Jack Smith is responding to this, and we read through the full opinion, okay? It was 50 minutes or so of that full brief, and it was very good. But this is what is happening now. They say Jack Smith is responding to this, kind of, right? One paragraph. He says, by the way, okay, Supreme Court, like there's another brief that came into your courtroom, and it came in support of neither party. And it raises an argument that Trump has not raised at any point in this case. Trump has not mentioned it, so you guys should not even think about this. He says that the special counsel, so-called, lacks the constitutional authority to bring this prosecution. Now, Jack Smith says, look, even though they said that and submitted that here, this court does not generally entertain arguments that were not raised below and are not advanced in this court by any party. The sound reasons supporting adhering that practice here. This court rejected that in Nixon. And remember that in the filing from Edwin Meese, they already brought this up. Edwin Meese confirmed, he said that that was dicta in Nixon, and it wasn't actually on point to the issue that is relevant here. And they say the DC Circuit already rejected that stuff, but remember, they already dealt with that. So they say no reason exists for the court to allow the amicis, which is Edwin Meese's unsound arguments, not presented by a party, to affect the court's grant of the petition. And so we don't know if Jack Smith or if that had anything to do with anything, but it certainly is here. So that is what Jack Smith submitted. Now, the reason we don't know whether it had any impact or not is because the order from the Supreme Court is just one sentence. We don't know even what judges were in on it. Was it a unanimous opinion? Was it 5-4, 6-3? Or what was the breakdown? We don't know. Just one simple sentence. We are not accepting the case here today. And so, very, very good stuff. Now, the other thing that may have been conducive to the Supreme Court not accepting certiorari is this. Attorney General Andrew Bailey and 18 other states across this country submitted a brief against Jack Smith, saying, you can't just jump up in front of the line, man. You got to stay in line. Cheater, get back in line. And they say the DOJ's attempt to accelerate the prosecution, to prosecute Trump, is blatantly partisan. There's no good reason to do it. Jack Smith couldn't even articulate the urgency in his own petitions, saying SCOTUS must reject it. And so let's take a look at that petition, because you can see if your state is on board. This is the petition of Alabama and 18 other states as amici curiae, friends of the court, friends of the issue. Let's see what states are here, shall we? And follow along at home to see if your state made it. We've got Steve Marshall, Alabama, is the person who is bringing it, along with his assistant attorney generals. We've got Alaska's here. Florida's in the house. Shout out to Idaho, our friends in Indiana. Iowa, Kentucky's on the list. We got Louisiana, our friends in Mississippi. Shout out to Missouri, Wyoming, our friends in West Virginia, Utah, the great state of Texas, South Dakota. We got South Carolina here. North Dakota's in the house, Nebraska, and Montana. And our useless attorney general is not on the list for Arizona. And so shame to her. But this is what the list looks like. And so hopefully your state is on there. If not, maybe your attorney general will wake up one day. But this is what they submitted over to SCOTUS. You can see, we'll just hit the highlights on it because obviously this may have had some impact in what the Supreme Court did, or maybe not. But this gave me a little bit of flashbacks to that time when we were talking about the 2020 election, and the 2020 Supreme Court rejected a bunch of stuff from the various attorney generals. And so this is what they say. They say all of these states are now respectfully submitting this brief as amici curiae in support of Donald Trump. They say the issue before this court is a narrow one, and while the question of a president's immunity from prosecution is self-evidently important, the question here is whether the public interest requires immediate determination of that question. Now, as agents of the public, amici, the states, we offer a different perspective than Jack Smith and the deranged thugs over there at the so-called special counsel's office, which is illegal. The United States petition repeatedly proclaims, but never explains why. Why do we have to go so fast, Jack? Why is it of imperative public importance that Trump's claims of immunity be resolved so quickly, so fast? They say the silence of that explanation is very telling, and it's troubling indeed, suggesting that the United States' demand for extraordinary and immediate relief is driven by partisan interests and not public interests. True. They say here, a petition for a writ of certiorari before judgment, the states are writing, is granted only upon a showing of imperative public importance. But unsurprisingly, when the United States has previously petitioned for a writ of certiorari, it spelled out the timing concerns. Like, it was clear. We got this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem. But that's not the case here. To be sure, the United States declares, quote, it is of imperative public importance that these claims of immunity be resolved immediately, so that if the claim is rejected, their urgency is that so the trial can proceed as promptly as possible. Yes, Jack, but why? But the United States, Jack Smith, never explains why waiting a few additional months for the Court of Appeals to do their due diligence would damage the public. Instead, they offer a tautology, circular reasoning. They say if the court agrees to review the case sooner, it can review the case sooner. Thanks, guys. That is no reason to justify the prosecution's extraordinary request. They say, which naturally raises the question of what the real reason is for demanding the extraordinary deviation. Well, they say, of course, it's because Trump is currently a political candidate for the Republican nomination, and the United States waited more than 30 months to charge him. The petition's repeated appeals to the March 4th trial date thus suggest a partisan purpose and not a public one. Any such reason would be an improper basis for invoking this court's rarely exercised power to invoke a deviation from this. The court notes that it should be an imperative public importance, not an importance of a particular candidate like Joe Biden or the Democrats. Now, because the United States failed to show this, they should be denied. They say no one disputes the question of a presidential immunity, that it's a very important issue. We got that. Tremendous public significance. But that doesn't mean we just automatically bypass the normal appellate procedure. It's got to be imperative public importance. And there's got to be a time component. It's got to have an immediacy requirement to it. It's not just because, like, you hate Trump a lot. You need more than that. Say here, other cases would be, when you would grant this, would be extremely rare. The court deviates from normal practice when there is a truly urgent need. So here's one example of what would be a true urgency, not because they hate Trump. During the Korean War, steel production was pretty crucial, but steel workers declared a strike, and that immediately jeopardized our national defense. If you don't rule on this, we don't have steel. If we don't have steel, then we don't win the war. We all die. So to avoid catastrophe, the federal government seized the nation's steel mills. Nice. Now, after the district court entered the preliminary injunction against the government, this court granted cert 3 days later. Why? Because it was urgent. Same thing with the Iranian hostage crisis. The president reached an agreement with Iran. We had to get it resolved quickly, and they did. War and hostilities are appropriate, not because you just hate Trump. Saying that the court has long recognized the immediacy rule. You don't get to just go fast because you hate Trump. We know that in United States versus Texas, the federal government argued that a nationwide vacatur entered weeks prior was already disrupting the efforts. And so accordingly, they acted. And there's a couple other examples of that as well. But what the U.S. government, what so-called special counsel Jack Smith says, is that here, that their rationale is urgency, saying to afford this opportunity to grant review now, that's their urgency. Now, it's unclear why the ordinary process wouldn't get that, but he says, look, this is not an argument, whatever they're saying. It's a tautology. If the court does not review now, it cannot review now. But why is it imperative to review now, is what he's saying, right? You guys are just kind of talking in circles. Now, one searches the petition in vain for Jack Smith's answer. The best the United States offers is that immediate review would permit respondents to proceed as promptly as possible. That's great, but going fast is not in the public interest. Every prosecutor should act with diligence, but that doesn't make it imperative. Like, doesn't every prosecutor want promptness to their cases? But that's not imperative. So the government has not shown an urgent need in this case. Is there a war? No. A hostage negotiation? No. Or a border crisis at issue? Well, there is, but not here. And the petition cites no authority for its position to accelerate all of this. So the government's recitation of the trial date keeps saying March 4th, March 4th. We know it's quite meaningless, as every prosecution that goes to trial has a trial date. So stop barking that, Jack. Now, even in other prosecutions that the federal government is deemed to be of tremendous public importance, even in ones involving January 6th, they let the appellate process play out. The Fisher case, another J6 case, which is working its way up at the Supreme Court right now, the government did not seek certiorari before judgment. In the other J6 cases, they let it go through the normal course. But what's the urgency here? In fact, the government itself sought an extension to this in this court. But now that case has been pending for almost 3 years. Other cases have also been going on for a long time. But why this one? Why does Trump's need to go so quickly? Well, it's because it's political. There is no comparable exigency here. Nothing that needs an urgency. There would be nothing unseemly about ordinary appellate review and no, quote, confrontation caused by postponing this while the appeal is pending. The United States, Jack Smith, and the so-called special counsel's office, their entire argument is that the court should preserve the trial date of March 4th because they should preserve the trial date of March 4th. Thanks, guys. Without more, that's not enough. And so if there is no public reason for immediate review of this, then the court shouldn't grant it. Now, while it has no legal significance here, the United States preferred trial date has tremendous political significance. Saying the trial schedule coincidence with the presidential primaries is not lost on the public. It's literally the day before. Devoid of arguments, the petition practically begs the public and the court to consider the political consequences. And President Biden's own remarks at the start of the investigation didn't help. When he was asked to reassure foreign leaders that the former president will not return, Joe Biden, the current president, said, well, we just have to demonstrate that he will not take power if he does run. I'm making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again. Okay, that's our demented, tyrannical, insane president who's saying that he's going to use the federal government to take out his opponents. And the country just like marched on like no big deal. The following week, so-called Jack Smith was appointed to oversee this case, right? He comes out, he says that, I'm taking constitutional steps to make sure nothing happens, which are not constitutional, right? It's not legitimate at all. Guess what? Week later, Jack Smith's here. Perfect. So normal order should prevail, they say. The United States insisted in the district court, but nothing about this prosecution has been normal. After the August indictment, August 1st, the United States demanded jury selection begin in December. So August to December to prepare 11 plus million pages of documents. It's the most disgusting. It's like the Count of Monte Cristo. Like that's the same due process. It's like not even a trial. And they asked for that. That's Jack Smith, the so-called justice team. So shortly thereafter, the prosecution dropped 11 million pages of documents derived from the investigation of multiple agencies, dozens of different types of witnesses, and they rushed to trial after 2.5 years when they could have brought the case, but they didn't. Now, in the defense's view, the federal government wants a show trial, not a speedy trial. And the district court assured that Trump will be treated exactly, said Judge Chutkan, with no more or no less deference than other defendants. But the same court compared this case to a Boston Marathon bombing and the September 11th attacks. Citing President Trump's considerable resources, the government then neatly organized the discovery. Okay, that's Molly, highlighter girl. She had everything like in like binders and like tabs, like all 11 million pages or whatever. I don't know how tall it was, but she said, we already organized it. And we know what the defense is going to need for their defense, and we organized it for them. And Judge Chutkan said, that's really nice of you. You're really smart, Molly. Nice job. And Molly's like, oh, thanks. So, and its own prediction, it said the defense wouldn't review the 12 million pages anyways. She's like, we just dumped a bunch of useless garbage in wheelbarrows on their front lawn. The district court largely acquiesced to the United States and set trial for March anyways. The court said trial's not going to yield to the election cycle. We want this to stay. And so on December 1st, the district court Chutkan then denied President Trump's motion to dismiss, and we sought an appeal. Now, the D.C. Circuit set a very uncommon schedule without explanation, an opening brief due on a Saturday, December 23rd, which will be tomorrow, and a response brief due Saturday, December 30th. The reply brief is due January 2nd, and then we've got oral arguments on the 9th, which we'll cover here. Be sure to subscribe. Still, the United States wants more than a compressed trial schedule and an expedited appeal. To keep its inviolable trial date, the United States seeks one more departure from normalcy. It admittedly, in its extraordinary request, it tries to bypass the Court of Appeals. There is a new novel question that is vital to our democracy. We've got the cornerstone of our constitutional order being discussed here. And rather than allay fears of any of this, they just get in their stupid filings at that office, filing March 4th. Yeah, but March 4th. Yeah, but March 4th, because the public needs this. They're like, we need this, man. Jack Smith's like, I really need this, man. You don't know how bad I need this, Judge, please. It should go without saying that interference with Trump's political campaign is not a legitimate reason to seek access to this court. The primary duty of a prosecutor is to follow the law, not to merely convict. And a prosecutor should not permit their professional judgment or their political interests to reign supreme. saying all criminal defendants, this is the states speaking, saying have a right to a fair and orderly process. The gravity of this particular prosecution is the more reason to ensure that right. And so for reasons unknown, Jack Smith, we know, has sought and secured an expedited trial and an expedited appeal. But this court's Rule 11, talking to you, SCOTUS, requires more than just a vague government interest in a speedy trial. The United States has not shown that its plan to take President Trump's trial to trial in March is of such imperative public importance that requires this court's intervention. And so this court should deny the writ for certiorari, and they did, because they make a good case. Signed off on here by 19 states, not including our loser attorney general here in Arizona, who is not doing anything. But this is United States of America versus Trump, and Jack Smith, of course, lost that one in very nice form. And so what is this about? It's not about justice. It's not about, Jack Smith saving American democracy. It's about political lawfare. And Newt Gingrich explains this quite nicely. He showed up on WABC, the Katz and Cosby show, explaining what the Colorado decision and what this lawfare, this election interference, which is happening right now, means.
Well, it's insane, and it's pushing us towards a civil war. I mean, let's start with a couple of simple facts. 4 lawyers in Colorado ruled that the 360,000 people who voted for Trump in 2020 do not have the right to vote for him. Now, that's about something on the order of 350,000 voters per lawyer. And what they're going to do is destroy, these guys aren't judges. These people are thugs who have replaced the rule of law with the rule of power. And what they're not thinking through is, as the Lieutenant General of Texas, rather Governor General of Texas said last night, Lieutenant Governor of Texas, you want Texas to take Biden off the ballot? You want the number of states that have Republican House, Senate, and governor? I mean, this thing just becomes a nightmare. And it's insane. I mean, I think we need to understand this. We're now dealing with a mental aberration in the Democratic Party because they are so terrified that Donald Trump is going to break up their establishment that they're doing everything they can to rig the game and basically holding him hostage because they're afraid he'll win. And I've never seen anything like this. I mean, at every level, this is wrong. The 14th Amendment referred to basically people who had risen in rebellion and fought a war for 4 years. There's no point at which it references anybody today. No one has charged Donald Trump with insurrection because you can't, because an insurrection is a unique and classifiable thing. But I think one of the challenges when you interview lawyers is they keep talking as though we're dealing with the law. We're not. Jack Smith has no interest in the law. The judge handling the case in Washington, D.C. has no interest in the law. This is a lynch mob. The 4 lawyers in Colorado resemble Venezuela or Nicaragua or Cuba. They have no interest in the law. And that's why you suddenly have people in California, and I'm sure Massachusetts will come along, and you'll find a number of blue states, the states that have the most anti-Semitic riots, the states that have the campuses most out of control. And they're going to say, oh, this is great. We've now found a new way to try to block Donald Trump from winning, despite what the American people may want.
Yeah, it is crazy.
They are orchestrating and attempting to do everything they can because the current plan is not working. The indictments were not sufficient, and the ballot removal is the next line of attack. And these people are not interested in democracy. They're not interested in the rule of law. They're interested in winning at all costs. And it's not different than what you see in other countries that we mock for being democracies, for being having lawful electoral systems where people's will is effectuated at the ballot box. And they're doing that in this country. And my question to them is, do you want to live in that country in the aftermath? I think they do. I think they want totalitarian power. But the problem is there's always fractures and fissures And these people are going to have to live in the same country that we're living in. But as it stands today, they suffered a big blow today. Jack Smith's efforts, the Chutkan-Jack collusion to try to keep this train on the tracks for a March 4th trial date, doesn't look like it's going to be happening. A tremendous victory for the defense. Jack Smith got played big time here. He was scrambling, panicking, filing for accelerations and expedited appeals, going to the Supreme Court, trying to leapfrog the Court of Appeals, because they tried to time this thing perfectly, and they were pretty good. You know, they wanted to get it right around Super Tuesday. They got it right there, but they couldn't keep it anchored in. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, there will be other maneuvers from Jack Smith. We'll see if anything else pops up, but we'll be here continuing to cover, my friends. And so thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. There will be more trial coverage here. Thanks for inviting a friend or family member to come over here and join us as we continue on, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right. Now, we're going to stick with some Jack Smith updates because he is getting another bad letter today. Jack Smith gets a subpoena threat from Congress. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan sent one over and said, look, Jack, we've been sending a bunch of requests to you. You keep throwing them in the garbage, and we're not happy about it. We're Congress, and we are going to use a subpoena if you do not respond to us. Now, Jack Smith, as we've learned in other court filings, he may not even be legally constituted. In fact, we've got law professors and former attorney generals who make that argument. But Jack Smith is now also on the receiving end of the congressional ire. We're going to see what other election interference looks like with Karine and some of these other secretaries of states, like in California and Michigan, who say Trump needs to get off the ballot there. But first, this is the warning to Jack Smith. You see, from Congress, the Committee on the Judiciary, Jim Jordan, writing this one, goes over to Jack Smith at the special counsel's office, says, "Dear Mr. Smith," and we're going to put an asterisk right here because this is not really a lawful thing anymore. We just learned about this, the appointments clause, illegally constituted. So we'll just make a special note on that one. So they say, "Dear Mr. Smith, illegal. The Committee on the Judiciary is continuing its oversight on the Biden DOJ and their so-called commitment to impartial justice in its handling of the unprecedented investigation and the prosecution of Biden's chief political opponent in the upcoming presidential election." You remember that case? In June 2023, we wrote to Attorney General Merrick Garland, and we were requesting information on your office's use of the FBI. Were you using the FBI personnel? Were you using unredacted copies? We also want unredacted copies of documents that are related to your appointment as special counsel. Woo! So Edwin Meese, the former Reagan AG, says that he is not properly appointed. And so Congress wants to know about the appointment. Curious. They sent a letter on this one, went over and probably went right in the garbage. They say also on September 7th, Jack, we wrote to you directly regarding allegations that your top aide, Jay Bratt, had improperly pressured an attorney called Stanley Woodward, who was representing a defendant called Walt Nada, whom you indicted. Now, to date, both you and the department have failed to respond to our committee's requests. Maybe because he realizes he's illegal and he doesn't know what to do now. But based on publicly available information, Jack, the committee has significant concerns about your commitment to even-handed justice. You have a record of attempting to criminalize political discourse, as evidenced by your reported interest in how the Justice Department could prosecute conservative tax-exempt groups engaging in constitutionally protected speech. They say this is a letter, this is a staff report from the IRS targeting of conservative applicants. This was from the findings. So apparently they're saying, hey, Jack Smith might have been involved in some of that. Now, your staff appointments, in other words, Jay Bratt may have been. Now, your staff appointments for the Office of Special Counsel also lead to concern about your commitment to fairness and justice, obviously. For example, Jack, one senior attorney in your office reportedly once pushed for an investigation into a conservative figure so adamantly that department leaders worried that the attorney could expose the department to accusations that it had politicized the probe. That sounds right for the DOJ. That comes from a Washington Post Journal article. Says the FBI resisted opening a probe into Trump for more than a year. Indeed, top Justice Department officials reacted allergically to the attorney's plan to tread on First Amendment activities. Another prosecutor, Jack, in your office, previously served as a political appointee to Holder, Eric Holder, Obama's AG, during which she helped defend you in response to congressional oversight as a Democrat staff member for a House committee. So these people are all just old pals, right? Even though Jack Smith is not a duly appointed U.S. attorney. So they continue, they say, the bullying tactics of Mr. J. Bratt, as we've detailed in our prior letters, only reinforce the perception that you and your staff, Jack, are more interested in winning the case than in doing justice. Obviously true. Saying, to compound our existing concerns about the actions of our office, we recently learned that you, Jack, had compelled from Twitter voluminous amounts of private information, including core political speech of millions of Americans. Anybody who even liked Donald Trump's posts on X got on a list. So it's nice to see you there. Now, without an apparent specialized nexus to any criminal activity, they just gobbled them up. And so accordingly, the Judiciary Committee is conducting oversight in order to inform potential legislative reforms, including possible reforms regarding politically motivated prosecutions of current and former presidents by federal prosecutors and disclosure requirements for special counsels and their staff. To allow the committee to fulfill our oversight responsibilities, Jack, we want the following information from you. All documents and communications between or among the Office of the Special Counsel, the Office of the AG, the Office of the Deputy Attorney General, that's Lisa Monaco, relating to the prosecution of Donald Trump. We would love to see all that. We got all documents and communications they want, sufficient to identify the universe of current and former Office of Special Counsel staff members, including but not limited to this information. We want to know the salaries of each staff member. We want to know the travel costs and the trips taken by the Office of the Special Counsel as it relates to the prosecution of Trump. How many, cocktails is Jay Bratt and Molly sharing? We also want to know the organizational structure of the Office of the Special Counsel. We want all documents and communications about the hiring and the selection of current and former staff members from your office, as well as job postings or solicitations, the hiring criteria, and the prospective employees' evaluations. It's like, Mr. Applicant, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate Trump? Acceptable answers are 11 and up. Saying here, communications between the Office of the Special Counsel and employees, prospective employees, and all other documents related to the warrant by the telephone or other reliable electronic means. All the warrant information as well. So Jim Jordan and Andy Biggs from Arizona, shout out, say, Jack, please provide this material as well as the material requested in our June 1, June 6, and September 7th letters attached as soon as possible, but no later than January 4th, okay? So if you're keeping track at home, we've got 1, 2, 3 letters. This makes it number 4. Jack, if you don't produce documents responsive to these requests, the committee may resort to compulsory process. That's a subpoena. And so don't forget, we've got jurisdiction to do this. If you got any questions about it, send a letter, notice, give us a phone call. Sincerely, your friends, Jim Jordan and Andy Biggs. So very nice letter over there to Jack Smith. We'll see if anything comes of this. Jack Smith has a lot of rods in the fire right now that he's got to attend to. He's got multiple appeals. He just got blown out in the Supreme Court because he is trying to time this to hit an election. But Trump's attorneys have also done a very nice job with their timing. And so when Jack Smith is getting hit with subpoenas and losing at the Supreme Court, their election interference strategy shifts over to ballot removal. Just take Trump off the ballot. That's easy. Well, Here's Karine Jean-Pierre, who is very concerned about the significant violent rhetoric against the Colorado judges. You know, anything that is done in the sake of democracy, to save democracy, is not anything that you can possibly criticize. If you criticize these judges for the most anti-democratic opinion that's ever come out in my life, maybe ever, is them. It's their opinion. And now if you dare condemn it or criticize it, maybe you're going to end up on another watch list, on some other list from the FBI.
And does the White House have a response to this significant violent rhetoric that targeted the Colorado Supreme Court justices and Democrats following that ruling that would keep Donald Trump off the ballot there? Some of that violent rhetoric has come directly in response to his own posts on social media, but there were concerns raised about that and that spreading on social media. On violent language and rhetoric in response to that, targeting specifically the Supreme Court justices in Colorado.
Well, we've been always very clear. Any intimidation, any violent rhetoric or violence, we're certainly going to denounce that and say it's inappropriate.
And does the White House have a
They're going to denounce that. It's not appropriate, and that's fine, right? I agree with that. The significant violent rhetoric is, violent rhetoric is not good. It's already illegal. It's already criminal. It's already called threatening and harassment in most states or whatever. There's different permutations of threatening a public official or something like that. It's already illegal. And so if they even come close to trying to, I guess, what are they going to do? Gag 1.3 million Coloradans who are upset that their right to vote for their candidate was stripped away from them. So that's happening in Colorado because they need to get Trump off. And as we predicted, the domino effect is going to be well underway. In California, the lieutenant governor there, we've already read her letter where she thought that the actual age requirement for presidency was 40. That's who we're dealing with. She's responding and saying that, yeah, we need to look into this. She says for the courts and the court in Colorado to make a determination, that means we got to do the same thing in California. Here's what she sounded like over on CNN.
We are in uncharted territory in our country, and the decision out of Colorado is a very significant fact. When the Supreme Court of Colorado determines in an examination of the facts that Donald Trump is an insurrectionist and therefore is disqualified from being on the ballot, certainly here in California, we have to look at that information and make the same determination here.
Okay, so
in California,
if you're saying to look at that and then just make that determination outright, Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, for instance, said, quote, whether Trump is eligible to run for president again is a decision not for secretaries of state, but for the courts. I spoke with her today. She's not going to suddenly get involved in the Michigan effort just because of this Colorado ruling.
Yes, she will.
Is she wrong as you see this?
She's just saying that. They're obviously working behind the scenes.
The Secretary of State, certainly I know in California, has the responsibility of determining whether or not people are qualified and meet the threshold test to be put on the ballot, whether or not they meet all of the requirements. And what we know out of Colorado and this very important case is that they have determined he is not qualified because he is an insurrectionist. And that, to me, is a very important piece of information that our Secretary of State needs to consult with the lawyers who she works with to make a determination if we need to use that as a justification here.
On that issue of being an insurrectionist, your letter says, quote, the Constitution is clear. You must be 35 years old and not be an insurrectionist to run for president. Is it really that clear, though, if it is going to require, as we expect it will, the Supreme Court to weigh in?
Well, that's going to be part of the process as well. Look, this is all about our system of rule of law, and we have never remotely had anyone running for president or be a front runner for president who could come close to be considered an insurrectionist. But we all know what happened back on that terrible day when the Capitol was overrun. We all know the information that has come out since. And so for this Supreme Court in Colorado to evaluate those facts, make that determination, that is very material. You know, it doesn't say you have to go through a legal process and be convicted as an insurrectionist. So that has to be weighed into this as well.
Okay, so you see what they're doing, right? They're all plotting to get rid of him, and they're all just kind of hemming around the main issue. Like, they want him gone. And it's our responsibility. Just like anybody who's under the age of 35, that lady, wouldn't be allowed, that we got a responsibility to investigate it. And so this is over in Michigan, and they're talking about some possibilities there as well with Wolf.
Joining us now, Representative Elissa Slotkin, Democrat of Michigan and a key member of the House Armed Services Committee. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us. Do you believe Trump's conduct on January 6th disqualifies him from holding office? And would you be comfortable with a court, not voters, with a court making that decision?
Well, I mean, I think I was fascinated by your last segment. I didn't know that history, and this is why I do think it is in the hands of the courts, right? And Colorado obviously knew what they were doing when they put this case together. They're trying to push to have this metered out in federal court, and now it will be. So I personally don't know the answer between the 14th Amendment and everything else that was just cited. So I think it makes sense. Frankly, in Colorado, we've got similar cases going on here in Michigan and other states to let the courts meter this out.
Let the
Joining
courts
us
do
now,
it,
Representative.
right? Let the courts do it. You see, so that's the new talking point. Like, no. We're not trying to remove him. We just have to get to the bottom of it. Like, it's just a process thing. It's not political. It's not partisan at all. Like, it's a really complicated question of law. We just have to let the courts get through it. And so California's investigating. We've also got Michigan investigating. Colorado's already leading the charge. But the usual suspects think that this is just incredible. In fact, here's Weismann talking about the 14th Amendment and how important this is. They're saying we have to ban Trump from the ballot because it's really important, people died for the 14th Amendment. Now, we don't want to sour their memories. Like, a lot of people died in the Civil War. And if we elect Trump, they're going to have died for nothing.
Irony that you have the former president of the United States who's started his campaign
by questioning the eligibility
exactly
of another president of the United
States. So the whole idea, there's just birtherism based on a lie.
And, a racist lie.
And
a racist
absolutely,
lie.
A racist lie, but goes to the idea that he would be disqualified, under the Constitution from running. So this is not new. It is true that this provision of the Constitution is new to lots of people because we've never been in a situation where you would have somebody running for office who engaged in insurrection or rebellion. What's remarkable to me is that the story isn't really the unanimous finding in the Colorado case, because you had no one dissenting on the issue of did he do it. No one was saying, oh no, this was insufficient proof. There were lots of procedural issues, and I don't mean to minimize them, that the dissent raised. But there was a district court finding and there was majority opinion with no dissents on the fact that the leading contender for the Republican nomination had done what we had a civil war about. And the reason for this amendment was because after the Civil War, people said, if you've engaged in this kind of conduct, you cannot be any longer in the president, the vice president, or any federal position. So this is historically really important in terms of what many people died for in this country.
Yeah.
And it's just not a terribly smart approach to pander to that kind of speculation and foment that kind of thinking, instead of talking about the real issues in the case. There really are significant issues that the Supreme Court will have to address. One of them is not the speculation about isn't the Biden administration doing this to sort of engage in civil unrest, which was very much what people said Donald Trump was doing.
Okay.
Right. What do you even call?
Yeah, so it's all just regular order in America. What happened after the Civil War, which was a 4-year war and resulted in hundreds of thousands of dead, is if we allow Trump, who was giving a speech that caused, they say, arguably caused a 4-hour riot, if you agree with that, which I do not, that it's the same thing. And if Trump gets reelected, then we are undermining American democracy, and all the people who died during the Civil War died for nothing, according to MSNBC. So that's what they sound like. Now, Rachel Maddow is another one over there. She called in. I think she works like 1 day a week now. So she called in and she was talking about this as this is not a crazy thing for democracy to do. You know, where democracy is very useful when we pull people off the ballots.
We're all just trying to absorb this. I mean, listen, I think in the broad strokes, in terms of our democracy, there are very few magic wands. there are very few sort of magic spells that you cast that make a complex and difficult problem go away. It just doesn't happen very often in our political system, and I think that we shouldn't be under any illusions about the character and the partisan inclinations, among other things, of this current Supreme Court as it is constituted.
Okay, so they're partisan. The Supreme Court is partisan. The lower level Colorado court is not. The Colorado Supreme Court is not, right? All of those courts are just doing due process, even though they're all Democrats and they were appointed by Democrats, and it seems to be Democrats just constantly taking out Trump. So that's Rachel Maddow. Not a big surprise there. Now, something that I saw, which was very fun, is this update from Representative Higgins. Representative Higgins posted this on X, and this is fun. He says, here's a new law. You want to play this stupid game? He says, how about I introduce this resolution? If any state in our union blocks the official nominee of a major political party from the presidential ballot, their electoral slate will not be counted by Congress on the following January 6th. How about that? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Have a very MAGA Christmas from Representative Higgins. MAGA Christmas to you back there, Representative. And so here is what his law says. He says, we'll introduce this one. We're going to amend Title III of the U.S. Code. And here's what it'll say. Under the Electoral Count Act, that the vote of an elector of a state shall not be counted if, with respect to the election for president, the state did not include on the ballot in the state a candidate for president who was nominated by a major political party and for other purposes. Your electoral votes go to zero. Saying, be it enacted that we'll do this. In general, they'll insert this. They'll say, if with respect to the state of the elector in question, a candidate for president who was nominated by a major political party, if he did not appear on the ballot, after shall not be counted, they'll say, they give us some definitions. That's it right there. Shall not be counted. It's amended by adding to the end. For the purposes of this section, the definition of major political party has the meaning given by the same IRS, right? So if you do not count if you don't put someone on the ballot, then your electoral count votes shall not be counted. So Colorado, thanks, you get 0. California, thanks, you get 0. Michigan, thanks, you get 0. If you do that, which might be a good way to play. So Representative Higgins keeps the pressure up. Now, Ron DeSantis had an interesting exchange here. He's still trying to figure out what the heck he's doing. And he is explaining that Trump's indictments actually hurt the primary process, right? It's not as important that it's wrecking American justice. It's not a concern that there is this superstructure that is really going to pick our candidate for us and then allow us to talk about these issues. Like that they want, we can talk about these, like Haley and DeSantis, they'll talk about these things, but they won't talk about the DOJ. They won't talk about the FBI. They won't talk about the J6ers. They won't talk about the 4 criminal prosecutions. They hardly talk about the ballot removal stuff. They're upset that Trump is sucking the oxygen out of the room and distracting from them. Okay, there are these policy wonks who want to talk about Ukraine and fail at that. But because that's allowed, right? All of these other things are not allowed. And so here is Ron explaining his take on this, and we'll listen to Kennedy afterwards.
Is there anything you, if not regret, you look at this campaign and go, I wish I would have done that? How do you feel about that?
Well, there's always different things that happen. I mean, I would say if I could have one thing change, I wish Trump hadn't been indicted on any of this stuff. I mean, honestly, I think that, from Alvin Bragg on, I've criticized the cases. I think, someone like a Bragg would not have brought that case if it was anyone other than Donald Trump.
Okay, Bragg is the most meaningless case of all of them. Like, it's really, really the most illegitimate. And so he talks about that. Actually, I would say they're all equally illegitimate, but it's the most insignificant relative to the other three.
And so, someone like that's distorting justice, which is bad, but I also think it distorted the primary.
Okay, it distorted justice, which is bad, but it also distorted the primary. So like distorting justice is like whatever, but the primary, listen to him go.
And I think it's been that those have kind of been the main issues that have happened.
Because it's helped him, is that what you're saying? And so therefore
it's both that, but then it also is just crowded out, I think, so much other stuff, and it's sucked out a lot of oxygen. And so, some of these guys like Bragg, they abuse their power. I mean, incidentally, he's a Soros-backed prosecutor.
Some of these guys, oh my gosh, I'm
the only one in the country. I've removed two, one from Tampa and one from Orlando, and it does show you that they view law as an extension of politics, and that gets very, very dangerous when this country goes down that road.
But why won't you say Jack Smith, Ron?
So you're saying it made him stronger in a way, and it made it tougher for you and others.
I think for the primary, it distorted. Yeah, I think it distorted. Now, in a general election, I think the Democrats have a plan on this. I think the media has a plan on this. And I think if it gets to the point where 6 months from now, Trump's the presumptive nominee and he's having to go through all this, they have a plan for how they're going to ride this out.
Yeah, and so we shouldn't have Trump because the other side is going to take him out using illegitimate means. And yes, it's not something that is justice, like it's justice, whatever, but it really kind of crowded out the primaries. And so I don't like these answers from him. I think that he should be, if these guys came out and defended Trump, if they came out and said Jack Smith is a monster and used his name and what he's doing is reprehensible, Colorado's monstrous, all of these other things are monstrous, they would get a lot more support than they're currently getting. Right now, what they're trying to do, in my opinion, is legitimize these things by not commenting on them. There's this bucket of things you can talk about. For them, it's, policy, it's all the woke stuff, it's the Disney crap, it's TikTok stuff, a bunch of meaningless stuff. It's important stuff, but it's stuff that is sub to the main issue. Okay, because if we can't even pick our candidate, if the Democrats can just indict you and you're off the field, that it doesn't matter what other issues we talk about. Okay, all of the other issues are irrelevant because they pick your top person. So who cares what the issues are? Because it's their person. They just take out the one who's on top. So Ron DeSantis, is more disappointing by the day. But this is Kennedy, who came out and gave a much better answer, very clear, just says this is ridiculous, never seen anything like it, it's reprehensible. He was on with Charlie Kirk, who does great work, of course, the chief nerd, clipped this one for us. And Kirk asks him about this, and Kennedy responds.
Speaking of ballot access, and you've spoken out about this, the Colorado Supreme Court recently said Donald Trump's not allowed on the ballot because he allegedly, they say he engaged in insurrection or rebellion. What is your reaction?
It's one of the craziest decisions that I've seen, and it's terrible. I mean, it's just terrible that they, people, half the country wants to vote for Donald Trump, somewhere around half.
Yeah.
And, if another country did that, like Pakistan or Iran or...
We would sanction them.
Well, we'd say that's not really a democracy. But, we're doing it now. We're trying to, I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump's. That's why I'm running against him. But I don't want to beat him in a fixed, fight. And what's going to happen if they do that?
How hard was that to say?
Which I don't think they will. The decision is crazy. But, then it's going to leave half the people angry. And rightly so, they should be.
Yeah.
People should be able to vote for who they want to vote
Absolutely.
for. And even if he was, and by the way, there was no due process. He wasn't convicted of insurrection.
Right.
Or even indicted. Yeah.
Or indicted for it. So, and there was no evidentiary hearing. So, and this is a hugely consequential sanction. Not with the consequence to him, but also to our whole country. And you're going to do that without due process, without him being given the essential democratic function that, of being able to confront your accusers and, all of these things that we guarantee people who are criminally charged. and we're not going to give him that. It's a crazy decision. It was a split decision. It was 4-3.
Yeah, and it just
All
certainly
Democrats.
foments more radicalism in the country.
Of course, I think what they're trying to hurt Donald Trump, and this is going to me, this is going to help him because it's going to fortify people's belief that the system is rigged and it's rigged against them, and that they're trying to screw the little guy.
They are trying to screw the little guy, including 1.3 million Coloradans. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? We're all Coloradans now because they're trying to silence all of us. Now, that was not complicated. I don't know what's so hard about saying that across the board. It's absolutely true. Why can't Ron cobble together that statement? Why can't Nikki Haley do it? It's because they want him removed, because they want the number one off so that number two can be in there. And that is disqualifying on its own. So that is Kennedy explaining that, Ron having a hard time. But Jack Smith gets threatened with another subpoena from Jim Jordan and the Judiciary Committee. The lawfare against Trump wages on, and we'll be here to continue to cover it, my friends. Thanks for heading on over to our website, robertgovea.com, and check out our shop where you can get one of the latest hats, the Watcher hat. Learn more about the actual logo here. It's a beautiful watcher. It's Libertas. It's Justitia. It has all the sword, the shield, to cut through the bonds of ignorance with the sword, and it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to support the show. And we appreciate you checking it out, robertgovea.com. We'll be here covering the Jack Smith saga and more, my friends. So hopefully you join us as we do. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you right back here on the next one. All right, and we've got one final segment on the day. And let's take a look at what's happening here. Joe Biden sent 54 emails to Hunter Biden's business associates. More of that no evidence that we keep hearing about. NBC News has the story. They got wind of this from records that were released from Congress. They say that here, House Republicans show Joe Biden repeatedly emailed Hunter's business associate in 2014 when he was vice president. How about that? Saying that these emails were exchanged with his son Hunter and his associate 54 times, and some of the messages, oh no, were sent around the time that the elder Biden, daddy, was traveling to Ukraine, and his son was working for Burisma. Oh man, that's crazy. So according to records that were just released, now a White House spokesperson declined to comment, but pointed to statements that Eric Sherwin worked as Joe's financial advisor and helped him prepare his tax returns, but Sherwin did not return requests for comments. So the records released describe the dates of the emails and who exchanged them, but did not include the messages themselves. NBC has not reviewed the contents of the emails. Now, all told, Vice President Biden emailed Sherwin 35 times before and after his 2014 trips. 5 emails were exchanged just prior to the trip by Vice President Biden to Ukraine, and 27 emails were sent on a second trip to Ukraine by Biden. So why is he emailing his accountant when he's flying back and forth to Ukraine? That's weird. Now, the bulk of the communication occurred in the lead up to and following an agreement for Hunty to serve on the board of Ukrainian natural gas company called Burisma. Oh, earlier this year, Raskin said in a news release that Sherwin told the Congress that the elder Biden was not involved in the business of his son or any of his relatives, right? Raskin said, he's not involved at all. Well, what do you have 54 emails for? Raskin said Sherwin stated, the quote, that he was not aware of any involvement by Biden in the financial conduct of the presidential's relatives, much less any transactions that ended up in the bank account. Now, the email disclosures were part of a law enforcement record released by House Republicans, came after testimony from whistleblower Joseph Ziegler. This month, Ziegler provided the documents to the House Ways and Means Committee, gave them a sworn affidavit, and the committee has also heard testimony from whistleblower Gary Shapley, which went over to Jason Smith. Ziegler told Congress that there were multiple emails found with Hunter Biden and his business associates, but the investigative team was unaware at that time that VP Joe used an alias. Oh, those secret alias emails from Joe Biden. And so 54 of those, my friends, the Pandora's box continues to be opened. And so that is what is taking place there. Now, we know that that was being covered up by the DOJ. Those whistleblowers constantly had problems with people like Lesley Wolf. Lesley Wolf was the woman who allegedly warned Hunter's defense lawyers that the government was going to go search his storage facility. And then Hunter was able to get the storage facility cleared out. Don't know if there were classified documents in there or what, but Lesley Wolf is no longer with the DOJ. Now, she was there, in my opinion, covering up for all sorts of criminality because she hates Trump. But we know from Jake Gibson that back on December 14th, she is leaving. Lesley Wolf, the assistant U.S. attorney who was central to the whistleblower claims, is no longer with the DOJ, according to a source familiar with the situation. She is gone, right? And isn't that convenient? And she was ordered to come to Congress as part of a deposition. She showed up. She's not above the law like Hunter is. He can just kind of do whatever he wants, not go to congressional subpoenas. But Lesley Wolf did show up at a congressional subpoena, but didn't answer much, okay? Hunter could have done this. Here, she went and refused to explain an order to remove Joe Biden from the search warrant. Remember, she also did not allow his name to appear. So former Assistant U.S. Attorney Lesley Wolf showed up in Congress and testified before the House Judiciary Committee back on December 14th. Looks like the same day we learned that she was no longer with the agency. She declined to discuss an email. She sent an email in August of 2020, okay? That's just a couple months before the election. Lesley Wolf at the DOJ sent an email to FBI agent Joshua Wilson. She said, take Joe Biden's name off of a draft search warrant during the Hunter Biden investigation. We don't want his name in there. Now, this is an email chain. Somebody asked her. This is an email chain between, and I like shout out that the Daily Caller got the transcripts, but the transcripts should be published. Like if they got them, they should be published. I don't know if they are. I have not seen them, but they should be published. So this is an email chain between you and the FBI special agent Joshua Wilson, isn't it? In the last sentence of the email, Lesley, you state, it says, quote, there should be nothing about the political figure one in here. You see where you wrote that? She's like, yeah. Can you tell us who political figure one is? Wolf was asked. She says, well, looking at page 2 of the document, it would be, well, who's described as former Vice President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., now President Biden, says Wolf. And can you tell us why you wrote there should be nothing about political figure one in here? And she said, well, so I'm not able to answer questions about this particular search warrant or this particular draft. She proceeded to give a lengthy explanation about how drafting search warrant works and the requirements to get one. And blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. So in this instance, you stand by your statement that there should be nothing about political figure one in here. She said, I'm not able to speak about this particular warrant. But she said, but political bias, no, it did not play a role in her decision to remove him. And she said, I already told you that in my opening statement. And they said, what? Okay, but in your opening statement, and I think you indicated that none of these decisions were made for political reasons. Is that fair? She said, yeah, that's in my opening statement. And so to the extent that you didn't ask the agents to take out political figure one, there was no political motivation in requesting that. So I refer back to my opening statement. I said at no time there was politics playing a role in these decisions. Now, she recently left after the whistleblowers came out and explained this to her, said that you are a partisan operator. What they have done now is included the email. The email says, from Lesley Wolf to Joshua Wilson. She said, here, as a priority, someone needs to redraft attachment B. I'm not sure what this is cut and pasted from, but other than the attribution, location, and identity stuff at the end, none of it is appropriate and within the scope of the warrant. Please focus on FARA evidence only. There should be nothing about political figure one in here. Isn't that nice, Lesley? We don't want anything to go after Joe. And said, now, when they testified, we had the testimony Gary Shapley, he explained how Wolf and the DOJ were stonewalling everybody, slow walking the process, indicating that nothing was going to get approved, and Joe Biden used email aliases to communicate and do business. Now, we know the rest of the story here, and she is no longer there, but she showed up and didn't say much. And so there was some reaction to this, like, oh, well, okay, Congress kind of dropped another one. This is how Fox made it sound, and we get some reaction from this gentleman who is explaining that, no, I think it actually confirms that she is running, right? It's kind of like fleeing a sinking ship.
Noah Rothman's here, senior writer, National Review Magazine. Good morning to you. So I just listening to that, right? Jordan says they shot a bunch of blanks. Ivy says it was a waste of time. So both are concluding that it was essentially a waste of time, but for different reasons. How do you see it?
It doesn't seem like a waste of time from my perspective. Ms. Wolf seems to be exposed to a certain degree. We don't know how much. But the whistleblowers who alleged that Hunter Biden had defrauded the government and that there was a certain amount of exposure that he should face that he was not in a conspicuous fashion, that proved to be true. We've seen now these charges that are coming out in California against Hunter Biden probably wouldn't have happened in the absence of that testimony. So there's a certain amount of credibility that Mr. Shapley has. And I would defer to him. Just Hunter Biden is attempting to help his father, who's facing a congressional investigation for obstructing Congress, by refusing to abide by a congressional subpoena. You're not helping Hunter. You're making things a little bit worse. And Hunter Biden is facing charges now that are very easy to convict on. This is a pretty open and shut case. There are no extenuating circumstances that say, well, you know, I should have paid back $1.4 million in taxes, instead spent it on fast cars, fancy clothes, women, and illicit narcotics.
Hookers.
That's the sort of thing that gets a conviction, which presents a profound political conundrum to his father.
Yeah, you've written about this. I want to read something from your piece that says this is going to put the president in a terrible position. He's going to be faced with a variety of horrible choices, you write, the least agonizing of which only involve the life or death of his political career. Biden is the one person in America with the power to spare his only surviving son the consequences of his actions. If it isn't already, the temptation to pull that trigger will be overwhelming, but the consequences of doing so would be disastrous.
Yeah, hopefully he does pardon him so we can see exactly what this family is all about, and there will be political repercussions for that. So we've got some reaction from Comer, from Tim Burchett and Chip Roy. Comer showed up and he was explaining what is happening in Congress. We're still wondering if they're going to hold Hunter in contempt or what this situation looks like, because he snubbed his nose at them, showed up, and then just left. Here is Comer explaining what's happening in Congress.
Well, I think everyone knows we're in what I call the deposition phase. We're doing depositions and transcribed interviews with between 25 and 30 people. Our latest one was this week. We went to Florida and had an interview with one of the trustees of AmeriCorps Health Financial's bankruptcy proceedings. And what we learned there was that the $600,000 that Jim Biden defrauded the AmeriCorps Health Company out of, a lot of that money came from other schemes which took money from senior citizens. But the ironic thing about that is $200,000 of that $600,000, that was 1/3, went directly to Joe Biden's bank account. There's no question about it. We traced the money. Jim Biden had around $2,000 in his personal checking account for several months. And one day he gets a $200,000 wire from AmeriCorps Health into his personal account. And that same day, the exact same day, he writes a check to Joe Biden for $200,000. So that's part of the money that we know Joe Biden has stuck in his pocket that he got directly from his family's shady influence peddling schemes. And this one is as bad as anything because it took money from senior citizens and other vulnerable Americans.
A lot of tentacles on that, right? So let's just break it down for a second. So the $200,000 back from James to the big guy Joe, what was that for? Do we know? It says loan repayment. I get it, but what was the loan for? Was there any certain part of it? Was it in essence a real loan, and what was it for? Number one. And number two, I'm to understand that this money that went through AmeriCorps came from a senior citizens fund. It can't get much lower than that, if true. You pretty confident about that?
100%. And the bad thing about it is the $600,000 that went to Jim Biden, especially that last $200,000, that came at a time when the company was no doubt headed to bankruptcy. So
hold on, wait, hold on. Why does anyone send 600 grand to Jim Biden?
Well, he approached AmeriCorps Health when they were in financial trouble, but they hadn't filed bankruptcy yet. And he said, I am Joe Biden's brother. And because of my brother's contacts in the Middle East, I can help you get all the capital you need to get back on your feet. That is influence peddling 101. And that is how the Bidens operate.
Did he get that? Did AmeriCorps get that? Tell us.
Yeah, they thought, okay, he's a Biden. I mean, this is what the Bidens do. So they paid him $600,000. The funny thing is he wanted it in loans so he wouldn't have to report it to the IRS. All this loan business, you know, I am from a banking background. They don't have any loan documentation. We've shown emails from banks where they said they had no loan documentation. And the reason they're saying it's loans is you don't have to report it. You don't have to report it to the IRS. We know from the IRS whistleblowers, they were looking into them.
All right, so loans and corruption from the Biden crime family. And this is Tim Burchett saying, you know, things are starting to pop off here. We're starting to see some momentum, and Pandora's box is looking like it is being opened. And Burchett is saying that he expects the Democrats to throw Biden to the wolves after the new year.
Cover up by this administration. They have not been forthcoming with anything. I mean, you know, and any investigation around the White House is suspect. Case in point, the bag of cocaine that was when they had it narrowed down to 200 people that had come in that entrance.
How dare you, sir, imply even the implication that this had anything to do with Hunter? He is in recovery. Okay?
Do what?
He is in recovery, my friend.
Yeah, well, he needs to be. Let me tell you, this thing just keeps getting deeper and deeper, and you know, the Biden's numbers are dropping. The Democrats are scratching their head right now. They're in panic mode. They are looking for somebody to replace him. You're going to stop in the new year. You're already seeing it. They're going to stop defending him because they can't afford their numbers to drop either.
Yeah. Pretty remarkable right now. We were looking at the numbers for Joe Biden. So last week, Pew had his approval rating at 33%. That, by the way, is below where Trump was after January 6th. Donald Trump's final approval rating, the day he left office, 34%. This week, he's at 34%.
Wow.
That is below where Jimmy Carter was right before he lost to Ronald Reagan. So the White House, their heads have got to be spinning with how bad these numbers are.
Man.
And Joe Biden doesn't really seem to be interested in doing anything to correct these bad numbers. But just back to Hunter. KJP was asked about Hunter earlier this week. Take a listen to her response.
Will the White House announce Hunter Biden's presence on Marine One moving forward?
That's something that we've never done. This is the family. The family gets to travel with the president, and that's been the case with every other president. And so it's not something that.
But you have a manifest with everyone else on the list.
We would be doing moving forward.
Congressman, when are we going to drop this charade that Hunter is some precious little sweet baby boy like JFK Jr., or you think about the Obama girls when they were in the White House, or Chelsea Clinton, or any kid basically under 10 years old
he's a kid.
that's been a first kid. Hunter's in his mid-50s. He's not like a sweet little precious angel baby boy.
Well, obviously this White House is checked out, and everybody around the president has. He's not cognizant of what's going on around him, or he would address some of these issues personally. This is not the Joe Biden from 20 years ago. It's not the Joe Biden from 2 years ago.
No, it's not.
And so this is just clearly an indication that they're holding their cards. They get it. They know the American public's onto this game. There's $30 million that have flowed through this family that there's no record of them even paying any taxes on. And they're from foreign sources. Joe Biden repeatedly lied about it. KGP or whatever the heck her name is.
You got it.
I can't keep track of these initials. But she's obviously out of, you know, she's a lost ball in high weeds right now because she doesn't answer the questions. The national media doesn't push them on it. The American people have totally checked out on this White House. That's why I say they're gonna have to find somebody new, whether it be Newsom out of California or somebody else. I don't know. But the country's in trouble, and this just can't continue. And they know it. They know it.
Hillary might be making a comeback. We'll have to see. But I think he makes an astute point here. I think there is an energy problem there. You can almost feel it. And even Kareen's just like, what do you want from me? Okay, like the border's the border. What do you want from me? Leave me the hell alone. Same with John Kirby. They just feel like they are low energy and basically have been defeated. So the question that I had is about contempt. Hunter gave everybody in Congress the middle finger. And the question is, are they going to do anything about it? I mean, my gosh. When Steve Bannon gave Liz Cheney the finger, they indicted him and they want him in prison now. So are the Republicans going to play the same game? Here's Chip Roy.
And second of all, if you don't answer questions, how do you get answers? It seems dodging questions seems politically motivated. Am I wrong here?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, look, the truth is pretty simple. There's $15 to $24 million that we know has flowed from foreign sources and foreign countries, enemies, like China, into the Biden family. We know that, okay? And that's the evidence. We also know that the president lied about knowing about the business associations between Hunter and the individuals involved. And now we're seeing the obstruction, the third prong of this, where the DOJ is not allowing us to get to the truth. That's why the impeachment inquiry was so important just 2 weeks ago when we voted to do that. So we now have more powers. And now what you're seeing with Lesley Wolf is more of the same obstruction, more of the same refusal to answer the questions. They don't want to answer the questions because they know the truth. The fact is they were slow walking the investigation. When we wanted to look at Hunter Biden's tax returns in 2014 and 15, they let the statutes of limitation run. That means that they were engaging in obstructing justice of us trying to pursue the truth.
Yeah.
So Jim Jordan and Jamie Comer are going to keep doing the good work, and we should hold Hunter Biden in contempt. He knows full well he didn't want to come forward and testify. He wants to come forward and plead the fifth. He can do that. But he shouldn't thumb his nose at the hearing. He should have come forward, and he should have answered questions in a deposition because he's got a lot of explaining to do.
His father has a lot of explaining to do. I mean, the
That's
left
right.
likes to say that there's no evidence that his father knew about his business dealing and possibly even profited from business dealings, despite the fact that there is a paper trail of millions of dollars being funneled to the Biden
That's right.
family. I'd like to hear from the president himself, rather than hearing more about how he supports his son. It's great that he's a doting, loving father, but it looks like there's a lot more here than that.
Well, and remember that the DOJ, the whistleblowers, they tell us that Lesley Wolf was saying, it was politically motivated in October of 2020 that the DOJ didn't want to get in and go pursue what we were looking into with Hunter's laptop. So we know that it was politically motivated, and DOJ is refusing to let that evidence come to light. The American people deserve to know the truth. This isn't political. This isn't retribution. This is about our country and foreign actors sending millions of dollars to influence the Vice President of the United States. He lied about it, and then he's obstructing us getting to the truth. But this shouldn't be a shiny object from us doing the work of the American people to secure the border and cut spending, but we should pursue the truth wherever it may lead.
Yeah, it's under there somewhere, but unfortunately it's going to take longer because they're not being very transparent.
All right, we'll see if they ultimately go towards contempt or if anything escalates there. We'll see. There is still a lot of time left on the clock. But every day we seem like we get more news about more of the Pandora's box being opened, more materials coming out. 54 emails now that are apparently pseudonym emails from Joe Biden going over to Hunter's business associates all around the time of Ukraine. Very interesting. Why would he need to do that? Who is he sending emails to about Ukraine business with pseudonyms for? Very strange. But we're going to be here continuing to cover this, my friends. Thank you for joining us as we do. Thanks for inviting somebody to come over to our channel and join us when we go live. We'd love to hear from them and love to hear from you. And of course, we look forward to seeing you both back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on the day. We covered some nice ground. Hunty poo, 54 emails between Daddy and his associates. Jim Jordan threatening Jack Smith with a subpoena, and the rest of the lefties just really indulging in their anti-democratic, tyrannical behavior. And then, of course, the Supreme Court denies Jack Smith's petition. Womp, 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 womp. And Jack Smith is going to have a rough Christmas lump of coal in his stocking today. And that is good news for Donald Trump. And we're going to see what the Supreme Court does with this as well. But now, my friends, it is time to hear from you. We're going to go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members-only after party. And if you want to join us for our Saturday stream tomorrow, that's the place to do it. Also, our YouTube members will see you on the Telegram link. So navigate to the community tab section grab the Telegram link and we'll see you there in our after party. But our YouTube members, we'll see you tomorrow on YouTube for our members only stream at 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. And so let's see who is joining us on this amazing day. We had some very nice donos come in. Hey, we got this one from Stop Sniffing Kids Joe. He says, yeah, baby, almost there. 7 months, 2 away from a baby. He says, love your work, Rob. Joe was probably sniffing a lot of kids. I think he was at like some sort of a gift thing today. Like there were a bunch of kids hanging around. I don't know if anybody, kept him away from the sniffing. Rob, CF Rob over on Rumble says Merrick Garland needs to be impeached immediately for illegally appointing Jack Smith as a quote, 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 special counsel, usurping the authority of Congress. How was the other special counsel appointed for the Biden case? That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't looked into him, but I think he's an actual U.S. attorney. So if he's an actual U.S. attorney, then he was appointed and confirmed by the Senate, which would be lawful. Gabriel Rinkes is here. What's up, Gabriel? Thanks for becoming a supporter, my friend. We'll see you tomorrow on the Members Only stream. Knox is here, says TGIF all, and this is a good Friday because we've got, it's not Good Friday, but it is a Good Friday because we've got the holidays right around the corner and Merry Christmas ahead. Says, this is the first time I have made it to the start of both live streams. I'm digging this vacation mode. Well, good for you, Knox. Indulge. You work your butt off. So you enjoy your vacation. Enjoy it well. We've got this one from Sportsfish. What up, Sportfish? 177 over on the Rumbles. Says, Merry Christmas, Rob and the gang. Merry Christmas to you, Sportfish. Thanks for joining us on Rumble, for being a membo, and for saying Merry Christmas to everybody here. Very nice of you. We got Maria Kathleen says, I know this isn't matching the watchers, but is Membo Brody from the AM live stream single? Huh? Hubba hubba. Hey, what's up, Brody? Woo! We got a little watchier matchmaking in heaven happening right now. Might be a nice little, might be. Hey, so Brody, if you're single and want an intro, you let me know. You send me an email, and we'll see what we can do. But so this morning on our members only stream, Brody shared an image of, I think, him and his family, and very handsome man, obviously. And there was an organ playing in the background. It was a nice share. And Maria liked what she saw. That's all. That's what I like to see here. We got, hey, I love it. Let's do it. We got this old guy says little Jackie Smith needs to go back to the International Court at The Hague, where he can wear those neat little prosecutor outfits. Yeah, and he looks a lot more comfortable over there. Maybe he knew what he was doing over there, not here. This one from Rob says, over on Rumble, says the J6 Mar-a-Lago cases have been contaminated by Merrick Garland illegally appointing Jack Smith, and any evidence collected by Jack Smith is inadmissible in either court. I agree. I think Jack Smith is illegal. The whole office is illegal. He says there is no special counsel. Rob, you're on it today, man. I agree with you. Says, stop saying special counsel Jack Smith. Well, I'm going to keep saying it, obviously, because that's the title of his. Like, that's how we know him. So I'm going to keep saying it. But also know that I think he's illegally constituted. Mimi is here. What's up, Mimi? Says, if Citizen Smith is outed because he's illegally appointed, what happens to Trump's cases? Well, they would go away. I mean, they would be gone. Like, they would be illegitimate, right? He could not have the jurisdiction to file them. So they would all be dismissed. And then my argument with Trump would be that he should claim damages, deprivation of rights, illegal, malicious prosecutions, all sorts of things. So, yeah, they would go away. I mean, at least Jack Smith's indictments would go away because he does not have the jurisdiction and the authority to bring them. Gentifer says, this is great news, Rob. Great news. Winning. By the way, I want Trump flip-flops. Can you get them? And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah, we can do Trump flip-flops. We can do a whole sequence of flip-flops. That's kind of what I was thinking, like a whole series of them. But We could work on Trump flip-flops if you want Trump stuff. We could do Trump stuff, no doubt. Jennifer, thank you for the nice dono. Merry Christmas to you and a Happy New Year to you as well and to all of yours there. We've got this one coming in from Kelly R. Says, ha! I was correct. Well, the liberal hive mind was. And I don't know what you're referencing, Kelly, but of course you were correct because you're very, very competent, intelligent, and capable person because you're a member. Thanks for being a member. Kelly R. in the house. J. Rack is here as our newest supporter. What's up, J. Rack? Welcome aboard. We'll see you on Telegram on the members only after party. We'll see you on the Saturday show tomorrow as well. We got Waldo. Oh my goodness, Waldo's here. What's up, Waldo? Bringing in 10 new membos. Thank you, Waldo. We've got Old Drill Sergeant, Catherine, Marco Polo's joining, Denzel. Ooh, hey, what's up, Denzel? Rocky, Richard G, Knowledge Tracker, Mary P, Carol R, and the good doctor NY Renal. MD is joining us. Waldo, as a member, thank you, Waldo, for the very, very nice welcomes to our 10 newest members. Grateful for you guys. We got Freedom Express Media. Says, how's this for a new law? If any state in our union blocks the official nominee of a major party from the presidential ballot, their electoral slate will not be counted by Congress on the following J6. Boom. Freedom Express Media, lovely membo, who's sharing with us the same plan. You read Representative Clay Higgins' mind there, Freedom Express Media. Very nice comment. Thanks for the dono, my friend. We've got this one from Eddie Oliver. What's up, Eddie? From Texas. He says, after I unsubscribed from your channel and resubscribed, you started popping up in my feed again. And Eddie was telling me that he thinks that we're shadow banned, which I agree with. He says, by the way, I liked it when you read United States versus Texas, because that is what it would take to even stand a chance against us. The rest of the United States, Eddie. That's a great state. I love Texas. I love Texas. What's up, Eddie? Thanks for the nice donos today, my friend. We got Mark Owens. What's up, Mark? Thanks for becoming a supporter. Nice to see you. We'll see you tomorrow on the Saturday stream. We've got this one from Catherine Rex. Says, it's getting spicy in D.C. Hashtag Jim Jordan. Hashtag Jim Jordan. Yeah, and he's getting, he's on letter 4 now. So after that, are we going to get a subpoena for Jack Smith for letter 5? Woo, we'll have to wait and see. What's up, Catherine? We got Knox Bierman says, every time you say illegally constituted, I think of orange juice. Illegally constituted. Actually, much more pleasant than Jack Smith. And Edwin Meese is awesome, by the way. That's true, Knox. He is awesome. That was one of the more fun readings we've had recently. Was that one yesterday? It was a good motion, man. It's like, wow, this is all. It felt like a new flood of new information. It was really good. And illegally constituted, like as in, I don't know. That it reminds you of orange juice because it sounds like highly concentrated. Maybe is that why? Illegally constituted sounds like highly concentrated. Could be. Fred Pedamonte is here. Says Rob J. Smith was involved with Lois Lerner. Fact from the IRS and the attacks on American conservatives. NY is here. Says if Biden directed Garland to illegally constitute a special counsel beyond the reach of Congress and impeachment, isn't at the very least obstruction of justice? And if Biden was using this to stay in power, it's indirectly an insurrection. Garland's actions and untruthful testimony in Hunter's case and Smith's case and his appointment require congressional hearings. Garland has used the AG position, in my opinion, illegally. Spud says this is another, so you could say, I guess we could call him the not so special counsel or citizen counsel, something like that. I like that one too. The not so special counsel, pretty good one, Spuds. I like that one. Let's see what else we got. This one from Boy Wonder Robin says, can't Congress step in on the unlawful appointment of Jack? They'd have to pass some. I mean, they are right now, like they're kind of investigating it. We just read the letter from Jim Jordan to Jack Smith threatening a subpoena. So like they're investigating it right now. But Yeah, I mean, they could they could pass a new statute that clarified this for us and clarified the law. But that would require Congress, and we're not going to get that out of them. We've got this one but great question from Box Lane Productions. Says, because of Colorado, did they get to present evidence to the Supreme Court and the election stuff to prove that they weren't the ones insurrecting that day? It's not going to be like evidence like you would think of in a traditional sense, like where we'll have witnesses and opening or cross-examinations and stuff like that. Like, we don't do that in the Supreme Court. We do that at the lower level courts, and then it works its way itself up. But we will have oral arguments, and so they could, they can bring up like examples and things, Your Honor, like in this case, or like sometimes what they'll say is, give me a hypothetical, like at the Supreme Court during oral arguments. In what world would something like that be possible? Are you saying this? And then they can say, well, I mean, yeah, I do think this because this is why. Right. And it's kind of Socratic method line of questioning where you can talk about a lot of stuff, but you're not introducing new evidence into the case. We've got a good question from Radice. Says, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Let Joey know we need a Christmas message from him and Timmy. That's a great idea. You're right. We do need a Christmas message from him and Timmy. Thank you, Radice. My brother Joey, of course, is on YouTube at I am Joey G. If you want to subscribe to his channel. We got NY says, this is all copium for Democrats. A court cannot declare someone an insurrectionist without even being charged with that behavior. Keeping him off the ballot is preliminary. How do they know that Congress would not take this disability away after he's elected? They have no idea, and it would be preliminary to remove prior to a general election. We've got NY says, in 1874, Congress took the majority of the House of Representatives, 20 members as insurrectionists. They were former Confederate officers. They were not stricken from office. So all of this talk about who died from the Civil War is garbage. Yeah, there was amnesty after the Civil War. So 20 members were former Confederate officers, right? It was like 4 years after the Civil War. Like, they granted amnesty. They wanted to heal. Like, our country was even a lot more sane after a full Civil War than now. Rob is here, says, Colorado Supreme Court knew exactly what they were going to do. Trump is guilty as not charged. We got Knox here, says, remember all Confederate soldiers, there you go, were granted total amnesty, ergo eventually allowed to hold office. Yeah, that's right. Politico even has the story on it. Yeah, they were. But Trump is not, right? Trump cannot be allowed to survive. Good question, good comment from Knox. We've got Glocky McGlockface says, hey, Rob, Merry Christmas to you and the Watching the Watchers crew. Says Judge Cannon just issued a ruling on the juror questionnaire. Ooh, let's see if we can pull that up before I forget. See what the ruling is. See if it's anything long and exciting. This is what we've got there in Florida. Florida number 2. Let's chop in here. Here's the order. Granting in part special counsel's motion for a written questionnaire. And it's okay. So yeah. So on or before February 28th, the party shall meaningfully confer and file a joint jury questionnaire. The court reserves ruling on the specific process by which the questionnaires will be transmitted or completed, but they will be having a jury questionnaire. And so honestly, Trump's people were not opposed to the jury questionnaire. They were opposed to the accelerated timing of it. And so it sounds like the judge is kind of including it before the March 1st, I think it was a March 1st status conference. And so she'll probably, that's what happened. She scheduled it she says, give me your homework before the March 1st status conference. That's all. So nothing really too meaningful there. Thank you for that. Glocky McGlockface. Nice heads up on that one. We got this one from Box Lane, says, Box Lane Production says, did Twitter stop Trump evoking the Insurrection Act by deleting the post that he posted that he said, go home? Was there any benefit to him doing that and then stopping it? Or would that be an unlikely scenario? So the way that I'm reading your question, Box Lane, is I don't know I don't think that Trump was invoking the Insurrection Act. Do you think you mean committing an insurrection? So Trump posted a video, go home in peace, and then they deleted that. So what I would say is that Twitter was basically obstructing the president from making a public statement, right? But I don't think that it would be a defense to insurrection. So Trump's video, I think, is a defense to insurrection. He was saying, don't insurrect, go home. And they responded by deleting that video. So I think it would exonerate him. And it shows that I think Twitter was trying to stop his message from ultimately getting out. They were contributory to the madness. This one from Tara Rayner. What's up, Tara? Says, DeSantis thinks Dems will change course after Trump? Question. He has become as ridiculous as the dumbest Dem in here. I'm worried lawfare isn't their last card against Trump. What else is left? I think we all know. Merry Christmas, Rob, and the chat. Merry Christmas to you, Tara, and to the chat. Good to see you guys. Thank you, Tara, for the nice dono. Kelly R is bringing in a new membo. Holly K is coming in. What's up, Kelly? What's up, Holly? Thank you for both joining us as membos. We'll see you tomorrow on the morning stream. Mima is here. Says Mima is on a budget, but I wanted to give to you anyways. Thank you, Robert, for all you're doing. It is helping us really understand what is really happening. You are a great guy. Merry Christmas. Mima! Oh, that is so nice and so generous of you. And we're all on budgets this year. You know, I mean, these years have been rough, no doubt. But really, thank you for the generosity, Mima. I know that times are tight. There's no question about that. I know we all feel it. We talk about $25 turkey sandwiches here all the time. And so thank you, Mima, for being here and for joining us and for digging into your budget for us this week. Awesome. You're a great person. You're a great woman and a great Mima, and we're glad to have you here. Merry Christmas to you, Mima. Thank you for that. This old guy says words are like weeds. Repeat them often enough and they spread and grow. The J6 committee started out using the word insurrection over and over again, and there was never an insurrection. Here we are today, where many deranged Democrats believe President Trump fomented insurrection because they've been told by their talking heads that he did. It's a mad, mad world, folks. And this old guy, it's a great point. You know, it's you repeat the lie often enough and it becomes a truth. And they, I think, are their identity is wrapped up in being anti-Trump. They're, you know, it's an existential kind of connection that they have with this. They talk about, you know, Adolf and Hitler, and like I think they think like they're gonna die, like legitimately. You know, like I don't know what it's like to live in that world. I have some empathy for them. I actually feel a little bit badly for them because it's like, guys, you know, come on, wake up. What the party that you're a part of is making your existence more miserable and the rest of ours. There's a better way to do it. Come and join us on this side of the aisle where we like freedom and due process and equal protection of the law. We like free association. We like to protect our families and our loved ones and ourselves. And we've got some pretty nice, you know, ideas on how this works because we didn't invent it. The Constitution did. We're just trying to live it. So this old guy, it is a mad world. Hopefully they wake up. I don't know what it's going to take, but we'll see. Hey, Linda. Oh my gosh, Linda. What a very, very extremely generous dono. I'm so super grateful for you. Linda H. sharing this one with a beautiful message. Says, thank you, Robert. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Jesus Christ is Lord of all. Beautiful message, Linda. Merry Christmas to you and to your family. Thanks for the incredible dono. Extremely generous of you this year. And it is very nice to have you as a member and a part of our community. And thank you for the beautiful, beautiful message. We've got Box Lane is here bringing in Narcos. He says, Narcos Mexico, Season 2, Episode 8. It does an eerily good breakdown of how their election was flipped. Recommend everyone have a watch. Merry Christmas all. I feel like I may have watched some Narcos episodes at some point. Definitely not Season 2, I don't think. But sounds like it might be a good holiday watch. Thank you for that, Box Lane. Very nice comment. We got Tara says, want to bust Biden? Just check his tax returns during the time as VP and see if he claimed the payments as a loan repayment. He had to produce them every year. I don't think he did. I think they've already looked into that. But I'm not positive on that one. Yeah. Does it show up as a loan on his taxes? I don't know. Dolphin Fan is the man, bringing in new members. We got Audio W, Audio Wizard. LER is joining us. Amaya and Amiana is here. CGI Joe and Connor B is joining us, courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the man in the house. We've got Pinochet's helicopter tours. Says, you know, makes sense now. Joe Biden is being blackmailed by everyone. He reverses course. He's out. If he didn't prosecute Trump, then the feds go after him and other things with the pandemic as well. Yeah, you know, I would imagine that there is so much dirt on him from his 30 years in Washington that they can leverage him however he wants, which is probably why they installed him in the first place. Kaiser of Third Age, Membo for 6 months, 2/3 of the way to a baby. Says Rob the Matchmaker. Good show, Rob. Well, I don't know about, I mean, we might have one, you know, we might have one possibility here. And I would love that to happen. That'd be a beautiful thing. How fun would that be? But we'll see. Kaiser of Third Age, you know, if there's any more love in the air, we'll see what we can do to make those connections, my friends. Norman Smith says, this is great news, Rob. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Norman Smith. It was a great news day. Very good news day for the defense, no doubt. Red One is here, says, is Judge Angeron's case over? The Areola judge? So it's, yeah, the case in chief from both Trump and the defense, both Tishy and Trump's defense is over. But I think we're still scheduled for oral arguments, closing arguments soon, actually. But I don't remember the date. So it's not done, but the main points, the main cases in chief are done. We just have closing arguments and then a ruling, which we know what it's going to be. John Schaffer is here. What's up, John? Says, what's going on with the Carter Page lawsuit against the FBI? That's a good question, John. That one, I do not know. I do not have that one, I don't think, in my docket list. What is this lawsuit? It's a civil lawsuit against the FBI. Good question, John. Carter Page. I didn't know he was even suing them. I don't think I did. So Carter Page, of course, was Trump's campaign guy who was illegally spied upon, violating out of FISA. But I didn't realize. I don't think we have his case queued up. So John, thanks for the nice dono. It's a good suggestion. I might be curious to see what that looks like. Thanks for bringing that up to our attention. And thanks for the very nice dono. John S. in the house. We got Knox is here, says reconstituted. Reconstituted orange juice? Maybe. Knox says reconstituted fruit juice produced from a fruit juice concentrate. It differs slightly in taste of fresh juices, carrying a different texture and aroma. Likely, like freshly squeezed juices, the juice is produced from a juicing machine, which then has as much water removed from it as possible, reducing it to a concentrate. Wow, well, that's something new. A reconstituted fruit juice. That doesn't sound that appetizing to me. Any type of thing that you eat that is reconstituted doesn't leave me with a lot of faith in that product. But Words is here. Words Mean Things says, how about special counsel impersonator, Jack Smith? I like that one too. Yeah, the special counsel impersonator, the imposter, Jack Smith. I like that. I do like that one. That's a good one. We got Jake Miller says, what happens if Joe pardons Hunter right now? Would it stand or would it be overturned? It would stand. Yeah, I think the president has massive pardon power and it's very broad. Says because of the Constitution. So yeah, I think that Hunter could be pardoned right now, and there's precedent for that. I think that even Sheriff Joe Arpaio, for example, I don't think you need to be convicted in order to be pardoned. I don't even think you need to be charged in order to be pardoned. So, and there's precedent for that, right? Jimmy Carter pardoned a bunch of Vietnam people. Trump pardoned Sheriff Joe Arpaio before he was sentenced. Although I think he had been convicted, but not sentenced yet. So yeah, I think Joe could easily do it. The reason he's not is because of politics. 51K says, you know, I just want to complain about driving on the I-10. That's fair. You're allowed to do that. In fact, a lot of states can do that. It's awful, and I just wanted someone to commiserate with me. So 51K, I live like right near the I-10, you know, and I'm like, I'm downtown, and the I-10 comes barreling right through downtown. And so the I-10 is basically the bane of my existence. Thanks for bringing it up. Eddie Oliver says, formerly known as Special Counsel Jack Smith. I like that too. Formerly known as Special Counsel Jack Smith, or fraudulent Special Counsel, or just Little Jackie Smith. I like that too. I like the latter. It's Little Jackie Smith is here. Facts Matter says, oh my gosh, YouTube gifts in honor of my and Jesus's birthday. Facts, you have a Jesus birthday as well on 12/25, and my angel Bodhi. And so, man, I saw Facts Matter brought in a bunch of membos, and we'll see if we can say welcome to some of these membos. I think I might have seen some of those come in. Let's see here. We do, man. I've got them all here. We're going to read those out. From Facts Matter. We got, who's here? Aubin A. We've got Patriot. We got Michael K. Po Boy. Villainy F. Pablo C. We have Sodium S. Prince 1. We've got Irene A. Three girlies got a gift. We got Opposing Force, Line Theory, Christine, Nikki P, Jane K.H. You're in. We've got Laura, Joan K, Conservative CC, Rabbit Stick is here. Ian Brown, Beaver Gladiator. Rachel W is coming in. We got Carol B, Penny R, Mimi Cool Whip is here. We have Cynthia C, George S, Ray is here. What's up, Ray? We got Renee G, Catherine H, A Series of Bats joined us. Last of Yahoos, Belinda G, Miko Star, Army W, Pi Squared, Tony R, Flanders. We got Tank M, Brian W, Amber P, Jim W, and Patty B, along with Tripos R, some random guys here, Lactonic, Imprimis, Unsound Engineer, Richard Tatership, Cemetery Shop, all as membos. That's 50 membos, courtesy of Facts Matter in the house, man. Facts Matter for 50 membos. Super grateful for you, Facts. Thanks for doing that. Very, very nice. We've got Tara. That's amazing. And so happy birthday to Facts Matter, and happy birthday to Jesus and Facts Matter's angel, Bodhi. Facts, you're the best. Thank you for that. 50 new membos, courtesy of Facts Matter. We'll be seeing you on the members only after party and on the Saturday stream tomorrow. Woo! It's going to be amazing. Thank you, Facts. And Merry Christmas. We got, this one is here from Tara. Says it was dismissed, I believe. It was dismissed, I believe. That's from, what happened on that one? What was dismissed, I wonder? I'm not sure. We got B-Man it says, I want to find out how Jack Smith is cologne with all these other prosecutors. You mean like they all stink? How he is cologne with all these other prosecutors. How is he commingled? How is he working together with them? I'm not sure. Seawolf is here. He says, Rob, you actually resemble more John Bernthal's Punisher. John Bernthal. Is that the new Netflix Punisher? Man, that's a nice compliment, man. I like that film. I like that series. He's brutal. I like those brutal fights like that. Yeah, that's right. I am like the Punisher. That's right, Seawolf. Thank you for that. Makes me feel really cool. Maybe someone can meme that up. I don't know, probably. And I might like that one. We got this one from Tara. We got, thank you, Tara, for the dismissal comment. Bruce is here bringing in new membos. We got Anita, Diane J. Oh, Tara says Carter Page was dismissed. Oh, that stinks. Well, that's not fun. Well, that's the answer on that one, I guess. Thank you for that answer. John Sheffer, we were asking about Carter Page. Apparently it's dismissed, so that didn't work out. Not good. We've got, thank you for that, Bruce Rice. We got new membos, Diane, Estewa, Richard R, and Cindy D, all coming in courtesy of Bruce Rice. Bruce, thank you for doing that, my friend, and thanks for being a membo as well. John McGarvey says, the investigator formerly known as Special. Yeah. What's the opposite of special? Loser special counsel? Yeah. Tara says Jack Smith, the cultural appropriationist. Yeah. How about the judicial appropriationist? I like that one too, Tara. We got another one from Tara. Tara says Carter Page was dismissed. And so, man, those were very generous donos, my friends. Thank you for sending those in. It is a beautiful end of the week stream. It's a beautiful Friday, and I'm so grateful that you were able to join us on this. Before we wrap it up and go over to our members only after party at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, let's say what's going on over on the X platform. Do we have anybody who's joining us over here on X on this lovely Friday? We do. We got 36 people here. 36 people joining us over on the X platform. And look, 44 now. Oh my goodness. We got 44 viewers here. Let's say hello to who is joining us. We got Danny McWilliams says, finally, lawyers going after bad lawyers. Fred says, KJP says, we've been clear and prudent, no violence towards judges, except people like Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, Thomas, Alito, Amy Coney Barrett, and others. This is a Merry Christmas message from Danny McWilliams. It's a beautiful Christmas scene right there. Jack the Ripper. We got Howler Dude. Will Joe pardon and resign? That's a good question. I don't know. Darkside says, good sir, if you haven't read through the Colorado Supreme Court Justice Armando Zamora's dissenting opinion, I highly suggest it. He completely dismantles their reasoning and really calls out his colleagues. I think I saw Viva did a good read of that. I have not read it yet, so that's not a bad idea. Maybe we'll do that next week. Jack Smith, Making America Great Again. Thank you, Jack. Yeah, for our reasons, because he's so incompetent. We've got some other comments. We've got some nice links there. A Christmas card naughty list. Rubber bands on the golf course. We got, hey, George says it was over 100 at one point. And the coal is not going to Jack Smith's stockings, Rob. It's going to Joe's. Spud says, if I remember correctly, our Constitution starts with we the people, not we the courts. And Forward Thinker says, I live in Colorado. Not a coincidence that the Dominion's U.S. office is in Denver. And I'm certain a certain ex-Dominion employee that ran his truck into a building but got apologized to for the arrest. Interesting. TJ King is talking about people being unaware that more Republicans are in California. And so maybe California write-ins will seize the victory for Trump. LR Custom says the smug elitist mannerisms from these people drive me nuts. TJ King says since post-Civil War, the Amnesty Act, only one person has been charged for removal. Phil Rogers says great work. And so those are the nice comments, my friends. JB's over there. And LR Custom says, what's up, amigo? The whole debacle seems counterproductive. And so that's what it looks like over on the X platform, my friends. You can give us a follow over there. We also post our segments there. We post our short clips here. So thanks for retweeting our stuff. Thanks for following us to help spread the message around there. We also have our watcher community on the X platform, which we're still trying to figure out what it is exactly. We're up over 1.1 thousand members, man. That's cool. And so I think it's a cool way to follow each other out there on the X when you're kind of in the wild, go out there and support one another, like each other's stuff. That way we can support each other out there as we battle for the soul of America. And so shout out to our friends on X. Thanks for following us over there. We are going to wrap it up now, my friends, and go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We have a Saturday show coming up tomorrow as well. And so come and hang out. Our website, if you want to sign up for our daily newsletter so that all of this stuff gets delivered and packaged right into your inbox so you can forward that to your friends and family. I would love if you did that. RobertGovea.com is the place to go. We also have our brand new shop, which is where you can get some new gear, including the new Watcher hat, which I absolutely love. It's stitched here in America, feels good, looks good. RobertGovea.com/shop to check that out. But we are going over now to watchingthewatchers.locals.com after we say thanks to our mods and our meme smiths who mod down the fort for us. Vientikis, I believe, is on vacay And so big ultra thanks to Zach, who is clipping like mad today. Zach Nichols was, I think, modding down the fort for us today with the clipping all over the place. And so, Zach, thanks for doing it. And we also want to thank K Bean, Just Cause, Playin' Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zulu, Beyond Geo, of course, Zach Nichols in the house, John Allen, Janek, and Dog Digger, all modding down the fort for us. Big shout outs to Geegum Geegum, Sleepy Dog Lee, and Nathan, and 810 in the house. My friends, that is it for us on the week. And we are going to leave it there. Members will be back tomorrow on Saturday for our members only stream. But my friends, this is it. We've got Christmas coming up on Monday. I don't think we're going to do a Christmas stream. Maybe, stranger things, crazier things have happened, but we'll see. But we may not be back on Monday, which means we're going to be back here on Tuesday, unless we see you tomorrow. And so I want to wish you the most incredible Christmas that you can ever have. I really hope you have a beautiful time with your friends and family, really unplugging from politics a little bit, because it's a good time for us to remember what life is all about, what the most important things are. And yes, politics is important, and the people who run our country have a lot of impact on our lives, but our families, the people we love, our friends, the experiences we have, the moments we share with each other are really what it's all about. And so I hope that you and your family and your loved ones have an incredible, amazing Christmas and holiday season. We'll be back here on Tuesday to get into it all again. And I hope to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful Christmas, a beautiful weekend, and an amazing night, my friends. I'll see you right back here on Tuesday. Bye-bye.